It is my distinct honor to introduce today's speaker, the incomparable Matilda Tilly Barker. Mrs. Miller, her advisor, is regrettably under the weather and couldn't make it. In the audience are some very special guests, Tilly's parents, Darren and Penny Barker, and our very own and very special Patrick Merchant. Please make them feel at home. Tilly has been an integral part of this school community for the past 3 years, having come to us via Doylestown, Pennsylvania, from the somewhat United Kingdom. Since her 10th grade, if you don't get that, you should be watching your politics and news. There's a lot of interesting stuff going on. Since her 10th grade, inside the classroom and out, Tilly has been gracing our ears with a set of vowels rarely heard outside the Yorkshire countryside. Thank you for broadening our horizons, Tilly. Among other roles she has played in her time at prep, Tilly has been a cheerleader and a member of student section, service club, and French club. In addition, she has been honing her leadership skills as the class vice president for the past 2 years. Today, Tilly will be speaking to you about an issue that is dear to her heart. Without further ado, Tilly Barker.
Given the video you just watched, you can probably guess that my speech is about dogs. More specifically, a growing movement in America known as a dog don't shop. This movement is based on encouraging pet owners to adopt their pets from animal shelters or adoption organizations, as opposed to buying an animal from commercial pet stores. The philosophy behind this movement has 2 key features. 1. Buying a pet from stores often means you are supporting the illegal breeding conditions associated with puppy mills or puppy farms. And 2. The supporters of this movement are concerned by the growing number of animals found in shelters across America, and furthermore by the alarmingly high rates of animal euthanasia that are a direct result of this. To begin to examine the subject, we must define what constitutes a puppy mill. In general, the term refers to high-volume breeding operations populated by poorly treated dogs that are bred at every opportunity, caged their entire lives, and that receive minimal health care. High-volume breeding itself is not an illegal practice. However, there are laws in place, supposedly enforced by the United States Department of Agriculture under the Animal Welfare Act, to regulate these practices. The purpose of these laws is to ensure the humane treatment of animals, and by and large prevent the cruelty that puppy mills contribute to. While these measures are theoretically set in place, there continue to be 2 to 4 million puppies sold each year that are produced by puppy mills. The fact is, the laws imposed by the US government concerning animal cruelty exist only nominally. In 1991, there were 88 field inspectors of the USDA charged with overseeing commercial breeders, as well as biochemical research laboratories, zoos, circuses, marine mammal parks, and commercial airlines that transport animals. All in all, this list encompasses some 10,000 businesses and organizations, and yet the number of inspectors has fallen to only 65. Simply put, there isn't the manpower to stop this epidemic of inhumane breeding. Also, given the profitability of puppy mills, it is no wonder that puppy farmers are unwilling to downsize their businesses because of moral implications. When a person is producing 20 to 40 litters of puppies at a time, they can only be thinking of their profit margins. To them, these animals are a commodity and not living creatures capable of feeling pain. Our economic climate has created an environment in which the money produced by these enterprises is valued more than the lives of the animals involved. Puppies are bred into unsafe and unhygienic environments, where they receive little to no medical attention and consequently suffer from afflictions like skin infections, kennel cough, parasites, and chronic ear infections. Yet the mothers of these puppies suffer a more tragic fate. They are kept in cages for 4 to 5 years, bred every 6 months until their fertility rates drop, at which point these dogs are killed and new females are brought in to replace them. For those of us who feel passionately about the protection of animals, it can seem a daunting task for any one person to end puppy farming. We cannot simply wait for the government to care about this matter, and at the same time, it seems an impossible task to prevent the breeding of up to 4 million dogs per year, and yet there are ways we can help stop this vicious cycle of cruelty. First, we avoid supporting these businesses by not buying puppies from commercial pet stores. Customers here are often deceived about the genuine origin of their pets, blindly accepting the certification of organizations like the American Kennel Club, confirming the pedigree lineage of an animal. The media and entertainment industry have led us to believe that pedigree is synonymous with well-bred, and this is simply not true. Many of the animals lived with pedigree in stores, come from puppy mills, have questionable breeding, and are predispositioned to certain genetic diseases that are undetectable until later in life. It was estimated by the Pet Industry Joint Advisory Council that 3,700 of the 11,500 stores in America sell on average 3,000 to 400,000 puppies a year. What's more, roughly 90% of those puppies came from out-of-state puppy mills. Fundamentally, we must accept that American pet owners are a problem. If no one bought these puppies, puppy farming would no longer be profitable, and the proprietors of such organisations would be forced to stop. However, I am in no way discouraging people from owning dogs, though I am suggesting we find alternative methods for acquiring our animals. Herein lies the goal behind the adopt component of the overall movement. What this means is to avoid supporting puppy mills, we must start by supporting local shelters and other such organisations. One of the largest charities of this nature is the ASPCA, or the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. As the first humane society established in North America, the ASPCA was founded on the principle that animals are entitled to kind and respectful treatment at the hands of humans and must be protected under the law. The essential aim of these charities is to rescue abused animals and rehome them with suitable families. While this may sound like a viable solution, it is not always an achievable goal. As a result of the animal cruelty epidemic in America, of which puppy mills are a part, overcrowding is a serious problem for America's shelters. Despite the genuine intentions behind organisations like the ASPCA, the fact is many have to resort to euthanasia in order to make room for more recently rescued animals. Shelters are being forced to place an animal's life on a clock. They are given X amount of days to be adopted, after which they are put down. To put this crisis into perspective, on average, 44% of the animals who enter shelters in the US are put down as a result of overcrowding. These animals are simply not given a chance because people are more inclined to purchase a puppy from the pet store. These animals are no less loyal or loving, and many are sent to an early death simply because they do not have the appeal that the entertainment industry has trained us to associate with puppies. From this, a reactionary movement has occurred in that a growing number of no-kill shelters are appearing across America. By definition, these shelters do not believe in euthanasia as a means of coping with overcrowding, and only resort to such measures when an animal is in severe pain and thus suffering. In this case, it is decided that it is the more humane option to put the animal down, and thus we can take comfort in the fact that here, no healthy animals are euthanized. Animals rescued by these shelters are given a chance to find their forever home, regardless of how long they've been there. This does not mean that no-kill shelters do not struggle with the lack of adoption and the knock-on effects of this. The longer any particular animal stays in the shelter, the greater the number of animals that organisation is unable to take in due to limited resources. One such example of a dog who experienced this is Leo, the dog who stayed in the town of Hampstead Animal Shelter in New York State for over 450 days. Leo was abandoned at the shelter when she was 11 years old. Though she was old, not necessarily in the prime of her life, and she was, in the words of the shelter volunteers, a sweet, gentle older dog. Given that her shelter was a no-kill organisation, she was finally adopted on August 17, 2019, after over a year of waiting. Animals like Leo are found across America, overlooked simply because they're old, deemed less attractive in their old age, and probably require more effort to care for. These animals do not find their way to shelters through happy circumstances, and they do come with some baggage. Many were abused and abandoned by their previous owners, hence they take a little more work to gain their trust. I have witnessed firsthand the kind of work and dedication it takes to adopt and bring home an abused or abandoned animal. In September of 2017, my mom and I went to an adoption fair in Aiken, hosted by the foster organisation Stinky. There we found Nora, a 2-year-old pit bull lab, who we tried to adopt. Unfortunately, we found that Nora could simply not interact well with other animals. Since we already have 2 dogs, it would have been unfair to all animals involved to keep Nora, and so we had to send her back to her foster parents, allowing her to find the home that was right for her. Though we were not Nora's forever family, this does not change the fact that we were a part of her journey. Reforming rescue animals is often a trial and error process, and it can take some time to find the kind of home that best suits the particular animal. When Nora was readopted, she was sent to a family that had no other animals, thus making them the right people for her. Despite the short window in which Nora was a part of our lives, her story is still able to teach something. Nora most likely came from a home where she had been trained to be aggressive, and as a result was a more difficult dog than a puppy you might buy from a store. To know for overall, Nora had her own particular challenges applied from her previous life. She was still a sweet and loving animal who was eager to please people in any way she could, and that she still deserved to find her forever home, even if it wasn't with us. It was thanks to the work and dedication of the people at Team Stinky Kids that Nora was afforded this second chance, and given the time she needed to find the right family for her. More recently, however, my sister adopted a rescue dog, this time a Staffy-Lab mix named Lucy. She was introduced to us by a work colleague of my mom's, Diane Goodson, who was a volunteer for Stinky Kids. When Lucy was initially found by Diane's husband, Tommy, she was, as Diane described her, scared of everything. When she first arrived, she had a tendency to urinate any time Diane or Diane's husband corrected her behaviour in any way. Diane said even looking at her the wrong way could trigger it. Given that she eventually grew out of this strongly suggests that her previous owners mistreated her, thus making her afraid of being physically punished, as opposed to this just being part of the dog's personality. With the help of her two foster siblings, Lucy learned essentially how to be a dog again, and by the time my sister adopted her in May of this year, she is a happy, energetic little dog. Still, Lucy has her challenges. She was abandoned by her original family, and so Lucy suffers from separation anxiety. For this reason, she has a tendency to bond firmly to one specific person. Lucy cannot afford to trust everyone who comes into her life, given that where her original owners broke her trust. For Lucy, that person is my sister, and while she is friendly to everyone she meets, she can genuinely feel safe with my sister around her. Even so, you can see, Lucy is now much happier. She lives in Manhattan, walks through Central Park every day, and even has her own Instagram page. In my sister, Lucy found her person. She has been allowed the time she needed to heal, and given a second shot in life, and is all the more loyal and loving for it. What these two animals demonstrate is that, though they may initially be more difficult than a puppy bought from a pet store, the reward of their love, trust, and affection makes the process entirely worth it. Dogs like Nora and Lucy are arguably more devoted pets because they are grateful to the people who saved them. This goes to show that there is no reasonable excuse for shopping for a dog. Not only are you supporting the core businesses behind puppy farming, you are also neglecting an animal in a shelter, who is just as eager to love you as those you would purchase from the store. If we stop buying our pets and start adopting, we are both making the puppy mill industry unprofitable and therefore unsustainable. And we are avoiding shelter animals another chance. Animals who would otherwise be left waiting at the risk of being unjustifiably euthanized. It may seem an impossible task given the enormity of the puppy mill crisis, and it can be hard to see how one dog can make a difference. But if we all adopt, it is possible that puppy farming can be stopped. And on a much smaller scale, regardless of whether you can change anything about the puppy mill industry, you change making an animal's life when you adopt them. It makes the world throughout regardless. Thank you.